do I start again? I'm not quite sure. But anyway, let's say I was saying thank you. Yeah, basically, thank you very much for the very, very nice sitting. How lucky we are actually to be able to do this, even though we're not in the hall together. It's very beautiful. Thank you. You'll feel, I hope, assume that you'll feel how we've been, I've been talking about these incorrectly termed levels of practice, allowing, opening to support. That's all kind of, in a sense, getting ready. And then the third way, one, discovering this essentially unthinkable, non-understandable, yet experienceable, intrinsic property of this reality we call human life, human experience, human consciousness, that it has an intrinsic property that we apparently don't normally see, by which everything is of a single piece. Everything is of one piece, one fabric. That fabric, sometimes referred to as the Dharma body, Dharmakaya. Sometimes one mind, sometimes one body, sometimes one dream. But the most important thing about it is that it's you. It's not you see it. It doesn't work that way. When it shows itself, you can't be apart from it, seeing it. And it may simply be that we're so habituated to the conditioned way of understanding ourselves as a separate, skin-defined entity in the world, that it may simply be that it's only the deep conviction of that prevents our tasting this other sort of dimension. Now, so you might think, well, what on earth, if Henry said there's sort of 4 levels, 4 ways, 4 modes, what could the 4th be? Could there be another sort of thing really beyond that, or in some sense, beyond that? And the answer is, well, yes. And it's kind of I think it's more, I don't really know, but some of my hunch is that it's more in the realm of Mahayana Buddhism. That it gets expressed more, let's say, explicitly, perhaps, in Mahayana Buddhism than in other schools of practice. And but it's a double thing, so to speak, if I can put it like that. I mean, granted, all words, all attempts to describe it are wrong, but nevertheless, it can be helpful to hear about it in some sense, to know that there really is sort of something to be unveiled or something, and that can become really a fulcrum of our biography if we really get it. Really can change how we approach life, what we understand life to be, even. And that is this you know, this really sort of it's, in a sense, it's the thing that makes everything one, if I may put it like that. It's where everything meets. It's where there's a koan where Joshu is asked. He says something like this: "All things come down to one. What does the one come down to?" That's what we're talking about now. What does the one come down to? And Joshu gives this absolutely sublime answer. He says, "Long ago, when I lived in the province of Chin, I made a cloth robe that weighed 7 pounds. All things come down to one. What does the one come down to?" That question is pointing at this sort of, can I call it level 4, zone 4 of our practice. Joshu's answer: "I used to live long ago in, Zei prefecture. And while I was there, I made this cloth robe. Can you believe it? It weighed 7 pounds. It's like, back in the day when I was living in, London, I was given a very nice overcoat. That thing was heavy, especially when you'd been out in the rain, in the English rain. Man, that thing, you put it on and the shoulders would feel it. It's so heavy. That's Joshu's answer. So we've got to do a little unpacking here. Because this is basically what I'm skirting around and reluctant to say is emptiness is what this is about. This is about the fact of all being one is simply a manifestation of the fact that all is empty. It's a beautiful statement of the Heart Sutra: form, sensation, perception, mental reaction, consciousness, all of them are empty. All of them are empty. That's really a way of saying the entire construction of our experience, the entirety of our experience, past, present, future, the whole thing, in all dimensions, is empty. And empty means gone, even now, gone. And this is, sometimes sort of talked of as the kind of, isn't Buddhism nihilistic? Well, I guess it could be interpreted that way, but it's not. It's the opposite, because this is where we're getting to, I've been calling original love. This is the origin, here and now, of this experience we're all having right now. It's right here. This is, can you just get a stirring in the heart, in the blood, in the body, in the sinews, what this means? This very moment, this very fact that just sitting here together via Zoom, it doesn't care. It's not like this is pre-technology. No, it's like, it's not. This is some old wisdom that technology doesn't get touched by, or something, or sort of technology is outside it. Not at all. This is a property, deepest property of this very moment and every moment. Gone. It's, if you can see it just once, truly, everything gone. You know, somebody was asking yesterday about getting stuck in emptiness. Well, the point is, there's nothing there to get stuck in. Not only that, but what is it like? It's like this. It's like this. It's just like this. You know, in other words, when Joshu's asked that question, what does the one come down to? He's showing it perfectly. A memory. I remember this, wow, this place I used to live, heavy Robe. That's it. He could have lifted up his cup of coffee and had a little sip. This is it. This is it. It's like we heard yesterday. Somebody asked, what's the essence of Buddhism? And Seigen Gilshi said, what is the price of chili in Chimayo this year? Chimayo, has a very special chili. It's it went through a legal battle to get its own sort of to be its own strain of chili, that people couldn't claim to be producing Chimayo chili unless they had this exact, the exact seeds and grown in this valley, this one sort of oasis valley in the dry mountains, about 30 miles north of us folks who are in Santa Fe. If you ever get to come out here, if you're not here, I hope you'll make a visit to Chimayo. It's a very beautiful place in the mountains. It's actually a shrine, and very beautiful. The Virgin Mary appeared there in the early 19th century, and it's been a shrine ever since. And it happens to be also for, what are they called? Epicureans? No, gastronomes. What's the word? People into food. Food it's a pilgrimage site for serious foodies as well, because the chili there is so special. It's very expensive. Its price fluctuates. See, I'm presenting. Do you get it? I'm showing you this fourth level. I mean, I'm sure my teachers would hate me talking in numbers like that. But this deepest level, really, it's right here now. And this comes up. This is what all koans are about. Now, the thing about it is, and that includes mood, does a dog have Buddha nature? What is this Dharma body thing? Is it in a dog? He can't give an answer. He can't give an answer on the level of the question. This isn't about getting answers on the level that we have questions. This practice is not about that. In fact, this practice isn't about meditation. Meditation is a means, but this practice is about your life. It's about your very life. Otherwise, it's a waste of time. And, this is an important point for us to hear, because we can be getting into a mode where we think we've got to have good sitting. That our way to liberation will be through having a fine sit or something like that. Not at all. Not at all. We have to do the sitting. We have to, use the tools the best we can. But because this is about your life, if, for example, you're one of the folks sitting with Mu, it's probably less likely that you'll discover Mu, that Mu will show itself while you're sitting, than while you're doing the washing up. It's certainly just as likely. And when it's going to do that, it's going to do that. And there's nothing you can do about it. You can't invite it, you can't cultivate it, and I suspect you can't stop it either. It's beyond all our practices. I don't like the word beyond. It's within all our practices. It's beyond us as to how and when it shows itself. You know, somebody was asking yesterday about like when getting into sort of more expanded sense of self, I get afraid. Well, yes. I mean, that's entirely appropriate, probably. But it's not really, you know, don't worry. Just do your sitting as it is. I mean, I'm saying this to all of us. You know, we do our sitting as it is. I hope you've got some sense of the areas that to some extent are sort of within our capacity to develop, and that would be, you know, allowing, essentially, opening to loving awareness. To some extent we can develop that. I think also to some extent we can develop our openness to support, to a sort of trust. Maybe I should just call it that, trust. Third zone, maybe we can, there are practices, I know very nice practices that open up our awareness. And that's somewhat getting into the territory of Mu. I don't yet feel convinced it really is actually the same as Mu. When Mu really shows us this living single fabric, it just isn't separate or around all things. It's in the midst of all things. And so maybe it's a little different. I don't know. If it is a little different, then that part is still cultivatable, developable. This broader awareness is a very good thing. In fact, one of my teachers, or she considers herself no longer my teacher. She's you know, no, we were very good friends and stuff. There's no bad feelings or anything. She just said, "I'm not your teacher anymore." Okay, and that's Joan Rick. She actually gave me an article recently about this practice that's, I think it's been around a while. Something like open focus. Is that what it's called? It's having a very broad awareness. You literally make your awareness bigger, and it's very good for the mind and neurology. There's a lot of research on it from a guy at Princeton back in the 60s, 70s, 80s or something. He was doing it. And I'm trying to find out a little bit more. And so very, very good. You know, a lot of these things are very, very good. None of it's bad. All these levels are good. But we just have to draw a line. We have to understand that there is a difference between sort of what we can do and what, at least in Zen, we consider actual awakening. Actual awakening. It bursts in from outside, so to speak. It's you know, so when we're sitting with Mu, I mean, really, I just want to say we do our best. That's it. We just do our best. We don't have to do more than that. You know, if we're trying to manufacture a state of mind, that's not really what this is about. So, do you see what I mean? So, you know, in other words, this retreat, original love, I've been trying to sort of say, probably, well, let me see if I can just recap a bit. You know, this is what we can work on. Our mindfulness practice in a nutshell, which means allowing. If you had to give it one word, it means allowing. Two words, loving awareness, letting that somehow show itself through the practice. Secondly, opening to support. Just, it's a help, you know, to let go of the idea that I've got to do it all alone. You know, the first level kind of is us, kind of is, but this second level, just kind of opening wider to the possibility of receiving help, which I think is perfectly consistent with strictly humanist view. We are here through no devising of our own, as far as we know. We are here, we're being created moment by moment. Here we are. You know, this itself is already a boundless support. Can we just take a little bit of the load off? Being responsible for our own development and our own growth. There's help out there. Part of our growth may simply be opening to help. See what I mean? Growing by realizing I need help. That's a growth statement right there. See what I mean? Is it okay to put it like that? You know, that may be. Actually, some guy wrote to me recently saying, you know, that he'd learned that it was a piece of learning for him to be able to say, sometimes I need a teacher. That was learning, you know. And, you know, we're lucky. We have these three treasures. So the very name of our lineage is three treasures, San Bo. That's the package that we have. Okay, now, let me please just, I need a moment just to look at my notes. Yeah, I think it seems like I have touched on some of the things I was hoping to, but there's one very important thing I haven't yet touched on, which is what does all this mean for how we live in the world? Well, it means quite a lot, actually. It means that, first of all, finding this oneness, and then even more, perhaps, finding that there is actually, right here now, it's all gone, but it's all arising, but it's all appearing, it's all being created, and it's all us. All of this is you arising. You know, because when I say that, I don't mean the you that we have taken ourselves to be. It's when that's out of the way. This is what we discover we are. All this. Now, that means, it means responsibility. It means compassion. It means it leads to much more sensitivity, actually, to suffering. But it's met by compassion. The original love is the very origin itself doing what it does. And I think it is fair to say that if we get a taste of this, we realize at that point the word love is inadequate. I think on other levels, love is okay, but on this level, somehow, it's not quite up to the task. It's sort of beyond that, if I can dare to say that. And it has implications. It shows us that, you know, we really must act compassionately. You know, it's like a parent with a child. You don't have a choice but to feel the suffering of your child. You know, this is one of the reasons, I suspect, that, you know, Zen in the West has quite a deep sort of I was going to say pedigree, but maybe that's not quite the word, but of social engagement, social action. You know, that one of the fruits of Zen in the West has been, rather like the Quakers, I think, has been, who also sit in silence. There's been a lot of social engagement. I was just reading a very nice article by a Zen teacher, Alan Sonorki, who's in the Bay Area. I've read other things by him. He produced a fabulous document on ethics in Zendos, which actually our own ethical code is in part based on. And he says, that he's talking about Black Lives Matter. They have a great big sign on their front door in the Berkeley Zen Center. I'm gonna just quote a bit from him. He says, talking about, he's talking about love. He says, love is not safe. Generations of Black women and men have few illusions about that. And love is not sufficient. Scholar and author Ibram Kendi writes that education and love will not deliver America from racism. He explains that racist ideas grow out of discriminatory policies. Racism emerges from an economic and political system weaponized structurally and interpersonally. The structures or systems are not broken. They are actually functioning as intended to maximize profit by way of exploitation, social control, and a masterful, pun intended, manipulation of privilege and fear. If you folks have not yet seen the work of art that has been put out by the Hirshhorn Museum in Washington, D.C. for only 48 hours. It's a video piece. And if you haven't seen it, see it today. Because I think the 48 hours are up fairly soon. It's only, 5 minutes long. I think it just plays on a continuous loop for 48 hours. Please, please watch it. It's called Love is the Message. And then Alan Sonorki goes on, as Kendi suggests, love in America calls for social and economic policies that are truly human. These are political questions, and we are in a political moment when all of us are called on to take sides. It's not something we often sort of talk about in Zen, taking sides. Well, we don't exactly see it that way. It's one reality emerging. That's what we are. But, he goes on, in these next critical months, that's what I plan to do. I hope you will too. That is how to demonstrate that we understand Black Lives Matter. Now, I think, as an American citizen, as well as a British citizen, it seems to me we may be at a time of one of these moral awakenings happening collectively. We might have thought it happened back in the 1800s, 1830s, but it didn't. If somebody yesterday put out a link to a YouTube called something like The Truth About the Confederacy, coming out from the president of the ACLU, it's superb. You got to see that too, please. It's about how, one of the subjects is how a lot of the Confederate monuments didn't go up in the aftermath to the Civil War. A bunch of them went up in the late 19th, early 20th centuries when Jim Crow laws were introduced. And another bunch of them, can you believe it, went up in the 1960s during the Civil Rights Movement. One of the biggest ones, this great carved relief of 3 Confederate generals, is built on the site that the Ku Klux Klan came into being. And it was finished in 1972. And there was a great festive unveiling with TV cameras and reporters. Now, can you imagine if Europe had monuments to Nazis, to Franco? I mean, I don't know, you know, can you, Mussolini? Can you imagine if it was just, you're allowed to do that? This is one of the ways the system is going on. And they lie. They just lie about history. I mean, I'm not going to go into it because this amazing man for the ACLU does it so beautifully. So please let us, yeah, maybe we I hope we've got the love. Maybe we can get the education, those of us that still need it, myself included, and it's still not enough, says Alan Sinorki. It's got to become just unacceptable to hold beliefs that oppress and brutalize part of our family. Or if you like, if you feel it, if you taste it, if you see it, part of our own body. It's got to become completely unacceptable. You know, as as a part European, part American, I'm struggling to sort of put these two places together because England had such a key role in the slave trade, and but it was relatively early to abolish slavery, and then the slave trade, and yet it paid compensation to the slave owners and not to African Americans, not to Africans. You know, it all beggars belief, but somehow it has also been more, well, it's had somehow a different, racism is different here. It seems to be more built in. I don't know. I'm going to be continuing my own education as best I can. And, you know, the point I'm trying to make is that once we get this clear, at least part way clearer, and we realize that everything's arising just now, we are part of that. That is us arising. And that's really where our responsibility comes in, our call to action, compassionate action arising out of gone. That very gone arising is original love, origin love, origin love. And we participate in that. That is us. We must, please, let's all be part of its reaching into the places it's most needed, you know. Okay, somebody, okay, so now I think it's time for me to lead us back into quiet. Let us please use this time, recharge, you know, with recharging for the work. We're dropping into the deepest truth, the deepest reality, where all is gold, as Setchel put it. One gold, filling everywhere. We're dropping into that, to whatever extent we taste that. We are dropping into that. So let us bring that gold forth. Gold maybe is another name for love. I don't know. Let us please, myself included, of course, let us do what we can in this area. Okay, thank you so much for your sitting and your patience with this bumbling fool, and let us continue our day together right to the end. We'll have Q&A in the afternoon, again, 2 p.m. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And so let's leave the room open, please, Peg, right through lunch, so we don't lose chats. Okay, thank you very much again. Thank you, everybody. Just thank you again.